Yo guys, what's up? This is Ryan from Tower Reviews, and today I'm going to be doing a full review of the iPad Air. This is Apple's 5th generation tablet, and I just want to preface this video by stating that I've used it for about 2 weeks. I've used it as my dedicated tablet for 1 week, just because for the first week I didn't have an actual case for it, so I didn't want to take it around with me. A little bit of background with my tablet usage: I've had 2 Nexus 7s, the 1st generation and 2nd generation, and the HP touchpad. So I've never actually owned an iPad. I've used them, of course, but this is my first actual iPad. So let's go ahead and get into the review and start out with the design. If we take a look around the device, we can see that we have the classic buttons that have been on every iPad. We have the home button on the front, volume rocker on the right-hand side, and the mute/orientation lock switch on the right-hand side as well, above the volume rocker. And we have the power button on the top, so every button is in the right-hand corner of the tablet, which is nice. It's easy to access all of that stuff. You also have the 3.5mm headphone jack on the top. You have the speakers, stereo speakers on the bottom, and the lightning connector in the center of the speakers. And you have nothing on the left-hand side. On the front of the device, you obviously have the 9.7-inch display, which we'll get to in a little bit. We have the 1.2 megapixel front-facing camera on the front. We have dual mics, one on the top and one on the back. And we have the 5 megapixel iSight camera. We also have the new mirrored Apple logo on the back, as well as the iPad logo down at the bottom. So the total package is 7.5 millimeters thin, so it's a very thin device. It's actually thinner than the iPhone 5S. It comes in at 1 pound, which is something that they were definitely pushing in the keynote for the device. It's actually 0.4 pounds lighter than the previous generation, and it really is a lot easier to hold in one hand because of this weight reduction. It's actually a 24% reduction in overall volume. We have the same aluminum unibody. It's a little bit different though. It's more of a flat design with more abrupt curvatures at the edges. It comes now in 2 different colors on the back. We have the space gray model here. It's space gray on the back and black on the front. You also have a silver option with white on the front. So overall, the design is definitely very solid. It's very premium feeling. The aluminum back does not scratch easily. It also does not attract fingerprints very easily, although the mirrored Apple logo on the back does, in fact. But it has sort of a cool look to it when you get fingerprints on it. It's kind of weird, actually. I kind of like it a little bit. The screen, of course, does attract fingerprints very well, even though they say that they have the whatever coating across the display. It still attracts fingerprints. But while the display is on, it's very difficult to actually make the fingerprints out, so that's not a problem. It's very nice to hold in one hand. The thinner bezels do make it a little bit harder to not interfere with the display, but Apple has some smart software technology that enables you to use it with one finger on the display and one finger actually controlling the device. So it's very easy to hold in one hand with that lightweight and the thinner bezels, and it makes typing easier because you can obviously reach further onto the display because the bezels are reduced by so much. You also have the new shiny chamfered edge around the perimeter of the device, which is definitely something that came from the iPad mini. That's a common theme throughout the device. It looks exactly like the new iPad mini and the old iPad mini, and the shiny chamfered edge looks very elegant and nice. The only thing that I could see being a problem with this design, it's just so thin and light that it doesn't exactly feel very durable. It feels like I could pretty easily maybe crack it in half. If you put it in your bag and you sit down or something, I could see it cracking, and like the display just feels really hollow when you tap on it, more so than really any other iPad so far. But I can't speak from experience with that stuff, so until that happens, it's really not a very good point at this point in time. So that's pretty much it for the display. Overall, very positive experience with the display so far. It feels very nice. That cold feel when you pick it up in the morning, just really enhances the experience. So if we go ahead and talk about the display now, it's obviously one of the most important elements of a tablet because it's what you're going to be spending your whole time looking at. So luckily the iPad Air, this display does not disappoint. It is gorgeous. It's a 9.7-inch 2048 by 1536 resolution. That is 264 ppi. So it's not as high as some of the other tablets, but you really don't need much higher of a resolution considering you can distinguish pixels, and I think it's really the perfect density of pixels, but I'm sure they'll eventually step it up a little bit just to compete with the other tablet manufacturers. It's a very large display. I'm coming from a 7-inch tablet, so definitely a lot more screen real estate with the 4:3 aspect ratio. It's wider on the sides, and overall it's just a lot bigger. It's very vibrant, responsive, same as really any iPad. It's just a really good experience with the display. So yeah, games, movies, web browsing, e-reading, everything looks great, especially with all the optimized iPad apps, which is something that I didn't experience very much on Android. They really utilize the display very well with different columns throughout the apps, and it's just really a good experience and the display just adds to it. Moving on to the performance, this tablet has the Apple A7 dual-core chip at 1.3 GHz. That is a 64-bit chip, as well as the M7 Motion coprocessor working alongside that, as well as 1 GB of RAM. So on paper, the specs don't really sound that impressive, but in practice, it's a very well-performing tablet. It runs iOS 7 very well for the most part. There are some hiccups here and there, but it runs all of the new features very well, and there are some slowdown areas which have yet to be fixed by Apple, but I'm sure they'll get to it eventually. So the combination of the beautiful display as well as the processor, the 64-bit processor and M7 Motion coprocessor, make the tablet a pleasure to use, a pleasure to play games, a pleasure to watch video, do whatever really. This tablet is one of the most powerful on the market, and overall the performance is fantastic, minus some of the flaws within iOS 7, but I can't blame that on the tablet itself because that is consistent throughout pretty much every iOS 7 capable device. One of the new features with the iPad Air is stereo speakers, which we can see down here on the bottom. We have 2 sets of speakers on either side of the Lightning connector, so they are very close to each other, which makes them seem less like stereo speakers and more like mono speakers depending on how you hold the tablet. If you're holding it in landscape mode watching video, it's going to be firing out of one side and it's going to pretty much tend to one ear and sound like mono. If you're holding it straight up and down, it's a little bit better, but it's still not that great of an experience in terms of stereo. But they are very crisp, clear sounding speakers, and I think it's a good upgrade from the iPad 4th generation.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Eric from Tower Reviews, and today I'm going to be doing kind of an impromptu video on how Apple has evolved from its first generation iPhone to its latest flagship smartphone, the iPhone 5S.
In terms of battery life, Apple actually did decrease the size of the battery in this tablet, but I have not seen any problems with the battery whatsoever. It lasts at least 2 to 3 days of heavy usage on half to full brightness. I've charged it about 3 times since I got it in 2 weeks, 3 full times. I put a little bit into it here and there, but I've really only used the tablet as my dedicated tablet for the past week. But still, I think only charging it a couple times in a week is pretty impressive considering how much I've been using it for gaming and video watching and stuff like that. So battery life has definitely been very impressive, and because of that smaller battery, it actually charges a little bit faster. So that's definitely a plus. In terms of the cameras, we have a 1.2 megapixel front-facing camera with 720p video recording for FaceTiming, and the camera gets the job done for FaceTiming. I wouldn't really use it for anything else other than just photo booth and fooling around and stuff like that. On the tablet itself, it actually looks really grainy, but once you snap the photo and look at it on something else, they're actually decent quality pictures, and the same holds true for the 5 megapixel rear-facing iState cameras. I haven't tested that extensively, but I think it'll get the job done for dedicated social media camera for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, just those things. It's actually a pretty good tablet camera for what you're going to be using it for. The iPad still offers the best tablet experience out there through the dedicated tablet apps, the ecosystem, premium build quality, and wealth of accessories available. You also have the cheaper option in the iPad mini with Retina display, which offers the same specs in a smaller form factor. So that is definitely a possibility, but if you want the bigger screen, that you really can't beat the iPad still. We'll have to see what Google does with the Nexus 10. But for now, that's it for this review. If you enjoyed it, make sure to click the like button and subscribe for future tech videos. Thanks for watching.